girls who have a lot of tattoos and piercings all over, for me, it's not. It doesn't look that great. It looks a bit vulgar. My first few approaches were super awkward. Like I would approach girls in the street, picking them up, kissing them live after 2 minutes of just talking with them in the street. And I had plenty of videos like that on YouTube. When you have a strong understanding of who you are and who you want to become, that's when you can truly attract the right people and the right situations. Losers, in some way, they only have goals. They don't have any systems or habits. But winners, they have systems, they have habits. And success is just a series of positive actions repeated daily over time.
First question is, how and why did you start being a dating coach?
Well, that's a tough question. There's different elements of my story that I could go through.
Spill the tea.
But I guess it all started with, in childhood, obviously. Like, I grew up in a pretty good family, great childhood in Tunisia. I'm half French, half Tunisian. So part of my life, I've been in Paris for many years, and then I moved to Tunisia. Have you been to Tunisia? Never?
No, not yet. I've heard good things about it, yeah.
Paris, yes, no?
Paris, yeah.
Okay, classic. So yeah, Tunisia is great, especially in the summer. I can give you some good spots if you go.
Amazing. I would like that.
Yeah, and so my high school was mainly in Tunisia. And back in high school, I was a pretty cool guy, normal. I mean, but I was a bit shy with the girls that I truly liked. And that really pissed me off because a lot of girls in my class were truly beautiful and I really wanted them. But back in the day, I didn't have, I'd say, the confidence and skills and way of being that would make me attractive to them because I don't know, I was just young. I didn't know, like, nobody teaches you how to be good with women usually.
no.
It's not like your dad is going to sit you down and is going to tell you, hey, you should do this. This is how you flirt. No, like, you don't know. And so a lot of guys can be natural. Yes, they have like natural tendencies to be attractive. I don't know, like just naturally maybe good. But even the naturals, like, it all came from somewhere. Like, we all learn from other people. Like, either we mimic how people do things or whatever. So maybe the naturals have been hanging out with other cool guys and playboys or whatever, and they learn from them. But or they watch movies. I don't know. But you all learn from something.
We're getting girls that you wanted.
Yeah, and so it came from that. Honestly, like the fact that I was kind of more shy than I would like to. Like I wanted to be more free in my mindset, etc. And one day in high school, in my last year of college, last year of high school, not college, I had a girlfriend at some point that I was able to attract, and she was really beautiful. Like, it was one of the hottest girls in high school. She was fit. She was like super smart, etc. And the problem is, because it was my first time having an actual exclusive thing, I freaked out. Like, I was completely stressed out. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I had a responsibility now. I needed to be super good with her. I needed to assume that responsibility, and I was in my head the whole time. I couldn't even talk with her normally. Like, I couldn't be myself at all.
Must have been very anxiety provoking when there is so much kind of pressure to be perfect.
Like, I would see her in the high school yard, and literally my heart was beating. I wanted to hide myself, like I was really. And so it didn't last. Like, it lasted 2 weeks. The only time I could speak to her normally was when I was drunk at a party on a Saturday night. Or something.
That's very sad.
Yeah. So that came from it a little bit. After that breakup, I really questioned myself. Like, why did it happen? What do I need to fix? Like, how can I become better? That's when I started going to the gym more, personal development, all of that. And then also when I arrived in Canada, because I studied in Canada in Montreal 5 years. When I arrived there in Canada, it was a completely new environment for me. Like, I had no existing social circle, no people. I didn't know anyone compared to when I was in high school. I had friends and stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, it was new, and I didn't know how to approach women at the time, or just talk to people like outside of my social circle like that, and make new friends like that. That also challenged me to find the answers deep within myself, and also on the internet, like, just search, like, how can I talk to girls? How can I get laid? Whatever. I don't know. Like, I wanted to fucking, crack the code and understand how can I get options. Because, I mean, honestly, I was not that ugly. Like, I was pretty good looking, actually. I was in a good school, kind of. I was a good student. I was going to the gym and stuff. Still, I wasn't getting any girls.
It's that awkwardness that we talked about, me and you.
Yeah.
When you really don't know what to do, then you're like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's when I started reading books about it. Like I read my first book. It was like the Game by Neil
The
Strauss or something.
famous The Game,
Yeah, the
yeah.
Game, stuff like that. And I started searching online. There was these gurus online who taught on YouTube how
Mhm,
to date girls and stuff. So I started immersing myself into personal development. And actually, at the time, that same year in 2016, one of my childhood friend died actually in a car accident in Tunisia,
mhm,
and it was summer 2016. We had an incredible summer in Tunisia because I went back to Tunisia for that summer, and it was an incredible summer. We had crazy parties almost every day. I would
mhm,
see that guy every single day. He would come to my place afterwards,
mhm,
like after parties. We would just have fun, drink, put some music, and I would hang out with that guy. And then literally, like I was on my flight back from Tunisia to Canada,
mhm,
and as soon as I landed, I open my Facebook and I see on the feed like, oh, life is so unfair, life is a bitch, and there was like
mm.
pictures of him, you know, and I was like, what happened, etc. And then I see that, yeah, I mean, he died in a car accident,
That's terrible.
and that was crazy because I mean, he was only 18, and same as me, we had the same
Mhm,
age. And I remember we used to talk about all the things he wanted to do after his studies and stuff like that, and all his dreams and hopes and whatever. And I was really depressed for many, many days of like, shit, like, even selfishly, what if it had been me? Like, what did I actually accomplish with my life?
mhm,
You know? Like it was really like I started questioning myself, like, what do I really want to do? I don't want to wait. What if it happens to me? Like, life is
mhm.
short.
Life is, yeah.
And yeah, and so I was like, yeah, I need to get my shit going. I need to start a business, do whatever I want. I don't know. I just wanted to really have that I had that rage within me to become successful quicker
Mhm.
because I saw that okay, this could happen to
Life
me.
is short,
Life
yeah.
is too short. And so that's when I started reading all the books and courses and really immersing myself into
Mhm,
personal development hardcore. I started my first business at that time. It was an e-commerce business. And then after failing for a few times, I started making a bit of money with that. And then, long story short, I also started learning more about dating. I also had a job when I was a student as, you know, the people who maybe you were stopped once in the street to ask. They would ask you for a donation, like, "Hey, do you want to make a donation
mhm.
for this charity?"
Yeah,
Like, you've had that before,
I
like
heard
people.
of it.
Yeah, so basically, I had that was me. Like, I had a
Mhm.
part-time job as a student. I was getting paid pretty well. Like, it was $25 an hour back in Canada,
Wow.
and me, all I had to do is approach mainly girls in the street and just approach them to give donation to kids in Africa, and that really built my confidence because I was approaching 100, 200 girls a day to ask them to make a donation and talk with them a little bit in the street like that, and that also gave me the skills to approach people. And actually, every time I would go back home from that job, I was so warmed up by talking to people all day that I was like on a crazy momentum of talking to people. And I would just pick up a girl like super quickly just after the job
Mhm.
because I was so fired up from the job of talking to people all day. And maybe you've had this where you're in an event, and in the beginning you're in your head, but then you start talking to people and you tap into a state of flow where
Absolutely, yeah.
you're not,
Shine.
yeah, you're just so tuned in, and
Mhm,
you're in the zone.
mhm.
And that's what happens when you really have I would say good game as well, is when you can tap into that resourceful state on demand, and you can draw your state from within and not be so in your head. Like you can quickly
Yeah,
be in the zone. So that's a skill too. I mean, I think you can develop it.
for sure.
But
But I think that's the critical factor when it comes to approaching. I
yeah,
can even see how you lit up when you talk about it. It really makes a difference.
yeah.
Mhm,
So that was kind of my story. And then, after getting a bit of success with all of that, I started wanting to coach on that. Actually, I was recording videos on YouTube in 2017, 18, where I was approaching girls in the street
mhm.
myself. I had the
Wow.
channel called The Flow Project. I can show you later or
I would
whatever.
love to see that.
Yeah, it's cringe though sometimes, but it was me basically approaching girls in the street, picking them up, kissing them live after 2 minutes of just talking with them in the
Wow.
street. And I had plenty of videos like that on YouTube. Me and another guy, we were doing this. Me and another French guy, and then the channel took off a little bit. We started having our first few clients from that. I started doing a few workshops like you do with the
Mhm.
women, I did the same, but for guys, but not about libido. It was more about just how to have a better dating life,
Hmm.
how to live a cool life, whatever. And that's when it all started. And then then it's just about learning about business and turning that into a real business. And that's what I do now. I have different programs, different courses, boot camps, uh, community, whatever. I have like a whole ecosystem. But that's
Amazing.
yeah, it's kind of the whole story. It's a bit long, but yeah.
I think we tapped a bit into this topic, but what really drives you?
What really drives me in my business or in my life or in my
I would say, yeah, what drives you in the things that you do business wise?
I think just I like growth, progress, seeing growth in myself, but also seeing growth in others. Also, when you teach, you learn even more.
Yeah, I know that
Um,
very well.
yeah, that's what also drives me is like because I learn about these topics myself, just for myself,
Hmm.
selfishly. I also like to teach that to give to people, but also for me to kind of understand those concepts better and put them in more clearly
Hmm.
for myself and for people to understand. And I've always been that way because even in high school, I used to like teaching and public speaking and talking to people. So I think yeah, that's in part what drives me. Obviously, also I like living a good lifestyle, making money. I like win-win situations.
Hmm.
I like long-term success. Just I like good things, you know. So I
Hmm.
just want to cultivate abundance in every aspect. That's what drives me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Why do men need a dating coach? It's a
It's,
tricky question
it's a
because technically nobody needs it, but then everyone does. So, what's your
mm,
take on it?
it's a tricky question. I think. Look, there's three main areas. I mean, you could say four that any individual, man or woman, should really work on. I think that would be important in their lives. Right?
Hmm.
There's health, wealth, relationships, happiness. Now, a lot of people have maybe a fitness coach or some type of coach for their body. A lot of people have a coach for their business or someone who can maybe advise them on their business. But I think it's smart to also have some guidance in some of these critical areas like dating, even happiness, spirituality. Like you can cultivate it alone, but just by having someone who's like further ahead than you on that path and who can really pinpoint to your blind spots and some things that you might have not thought about or some things you could fix, that also that saves you a lot of time. I mean, it's all about time. Time is the
Hmm.
most important resource you have, and all of us know that. And the thing is, you're going to waste a lot of time trying to find those answers yourself, where you could have shortened the learning curve by many many years if you just humbled yourself and paid someone or sat with someone who could teach you
Hmm.
those type of things. Because most times you're not going to reinvent the wheel, and even if you try to reinvent the wheel, it's going to be at the cost of your health, your mental health, physical health, everything, like your time, your
Time,
everything.
yeah.
So
Just like you said, unfortunately, your parents will not sit you down and teach you how to date someone. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah. Which is
yeah.
a shame. That's why there is you and me.
Yeah, would you teach your kids some stuff about dating and
Fuck yes.
mhm.
Absolutely yes.
Would you prefer teaching a boy or a girl or
It doesn't matter.
mhm.
Yeah, I would for sure. I would also not hold back on sex education.
Mhm. What if your son is gay? Would you accept that?
Whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Would you?
I mean, depends. Yeah. I mean, I would rather not have a son that's gay. I'd rather have him straight.
Mm.
But yeah,
That's a tricky subject, huh?
yeah,
I mean, no, I really don't care. I know the science behind it. They're just human beings, the same as us.
yeah,
No shame. We've talked a lot about systems. I have mine, you have yours.
yeah.
Could you kind of give us a little sneak peek into what your system is about? How does it look like, and why is it important?
Yeah. I think in life, we all have goals, right? And these goals, the thing is, a lot of people are going to set goals, even now, New Year's, New Year, new me, resolutions. I'm going to just put my goals down, what I want to accomplish and stuff. But the thing that people don't realize is that writing down your goals, it's kind of just a dopamine hit. Like you're just like writing down your goals. Yeah, New Year, new me, and you pump yourself up. I'm going to achieve all that.
Hmm.
But then the problem is if you don't back those goals with consistent actions and systems, a system of habits that you put in place, you're not gonna achieve them. So I always say that losers in some way, they only have goals. They don't have any systems or habits. But winners, they have systems, they have habits that would take them to these goals. So I think a system is just a set of actions and practices that you put in place to get to that goal. Now, when it comes to dating, a lot of guys have the goal of getting 1 date a week, 2 dates a week, an amazing girlfriend, whatever, a harem of women, whatever you're into. And
Even getting laid is a
getting
goal.
laid,
It's harder for guys.
yeah. And so a lot of people, men especially, when it comes to dating, they have those goals, but they don't back up those goals with a set of actions that they're going to do on a consistent basis. Same as going to the gym. You go to the gym, right? You have a goal for your body. Well, you go to the gym consistently and you show up with a training program. Well, same thing with your dating life. If you don't show up consistently with a sort of actions like that would, like some actions that would lead to those dates, then you're just stabbing in the dark, trying to swipe a little bit on dating apps, but you're not really trying.
Yeah.
And then it's a vicious cycle where you just rely on dating apps, and every day you see girls passing by, and you're losing opportunities, and you start being in your head, you start questioning yourself, and yeah, I mean, it's just a vicious cycle. You really want to have a system so that you're clear about what you do, what you should do, how you should do it, and just holding yourself accountable to do it. Now, I've had to learn this from my mentors because even myself, I didn't know what to do when it came to approaching women in the beginning. My first few approaches were super awkward. Like I would approach girls in the street, it was super awkward. I didn't know what to say. I would get, I would get red. I wouldn't know.
Stutter, yeah.
I would stutter. Like, but then after a few times of doing it, you start understanding what you should do, and you see the patterns. And when you recognize the patterns and what to say and what to do, then you can just do it consistently and get results. And so guys should have a system. I think there's 3 main systems that guys should put in place in their dating lives. I think they should have more of a live, like real life system where they could meet women in a day-to-day situation, whether nighttime or daytime. That's the first system they should put in place. I think that's important to have that. Then the second system is kind of more of an online system with having a great online presence, a great way for people to meet you online and mastering that. And then more of a social circle system for long-term success. Because the thing is, if you only meet people for the short term, like a quick date, casual, and nothing ever happens outside of that, then you're not going to have any cool friends. You're not going to have an entourage of cool people in your city. You're not going to build a reputation in your city. You're not going to be really cool. You're just going to be a guy who dates around, have sex, and that's it. It's short-term focused. But I think you should have a long-term strategy where long-term, you're building a social circle of amazing people, inspiring people, entrepreneurs, quality women, events, stuff like that. And that will also help your professional life, because if you're surrounded by all these cool people that you've met through you being extroverted and you talking to people and you cultivating those skills, then you're going to come to a point where even if you wanted a job, you wouldn't even need a resume or something. You can just talk to your friend and he gets your job like that. Or you want to do business? Well, you have so many guys you're meeting, you can do business like that. Just collaborate with them because you have all these things going on. So I think you should have all these strategies, but that all starts with the mindset. So we also talk about the mindset and actually, like you do, working on their beliefs, working on having a strong understanding of who they are and who they want to become and their identity, having that vision, that purpose, that would really strengthening their frame of who they are.
The core, you can say.
The core, yeah. I think that when you have a strong understanding of who you are and who you want to become, that's when you can truly, truly attract the right people and the right situations.
Sure.
When you don't, then you don't really know what kind of woman you want. You just settle for anybody. You're not very clear. You can't even qualify or disqualify women accordingly because you don't even have that. And it's just like a bit spineless.
Yeah, wishy-washy.
Yeah, exactly. So
to spice things up, what makes a high quality woman?
I think for me, a high quality woman is a woman who is very aware of her femininity and who works on herself and who takes care of herself, etc. I'd say if I had to give a high quality girl checklist, I would say
That would be lovely.
I would say a girl who she goes to the gym. I think girls should go to the gym or do some type of sport, like take care of their bodies. Because let's be honest, I mean, a lot of male-female attraction is physical too, and I think it's important for a girl to look the part. Now, if you're, a woman that's has more fat or whatever, you can work on that too. I mean, you can always make an effort. I think self-improvement. She's into self-improvement. She eats well. Maybe she had a nice upbringing too. So, I mean, even if you didn't have a good upbringing, you could be a high quality girl, but that will affect how you conduct your life in some way. If you have a damaged relationship with your family, your father specifically, maybe sometimes you're going to compensate for that with being with toxic guys or
Mhm.
attracting toxic situations or whatever. That could be one. I'd say also girls who have a lot of tattoos and piercings all over. For me, it's not.
Mhm.
It doesn't look that great. It looks a bit vulgar.
Mhm.
It's okay to have a few ones, but if it's too much, like literally, it's just like a painting wall at this point. Like it's always everywhere.
Mhm.
Like it just looks vulgar. It doesn't look that great. And I truly believe, and there's been studies about this, that people who change their uh, physique a lot, like for example, they want to dye their hair all the time. They want to put
Mhm.
like a ton of piercings all
Plastic
the time.
surgery is the same, yeah?
Plastic surgery. Those are
Mhm.
people who have the highest level of neuroticism and anxiety because they really can't stand being just normal, and they need to change something to feel good about themselves, and they feel so anxious or something, they feel a bit of pain, or maybe it's the pain body within themselves that is trying to, they just have to change something externally to feel good. And
Mhm.
I think it comes from a deeper issue, a baggage, emotional baggage sometimes.
Yeah, about tattoos, it's very interesting. I try not to judge, but I definitely noticed in women, especially those that have tons of tattoos, they're covered in them. Almost all of them said that they cannot stand their body, and tattooing their body is basically a one way for them to bear it.
Mm,
Yeah, it's a very interesting, very destructive, and very sad, I would say, statement, reality, but I see the
yeah.
correlation as well.
And honestly, respect. I mean, look, if you're watching this and you have a ton of tattoos, unfortunately, I won't be dating you long term, but you will find your match, and
I mean,
that's
yeah,
fine, you know?
there's there.
We're all spiritual beings, and our body is just a cover. I mean, it's not it's not your soul.
Mhm.
But yeah.
For sure, there is. You don't discuss tastes or how
Yeah, yeah,
something like
exactly.
that.
Like,
Yeah, each to
yeah,
their own.
each their own, yeah.
What's one universal best dating advice you could give?
That's a tough question. There's so many good dating advice out there. I would say, I mean, just to come back, because you can all, I think the best advice is the simplest in a way. Because amateurs, they try to complicate things usually and give you like some crazy, like super advanced thing. But experts, they usually simplify things to their core level
Mhm.
and to the first principles. And I think when it comes to dating, whether it's for a man or for a woman, it always starts with a deep understanding of yourself. Like knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Like Aristotle said thousands of years ago. This is one of my favorite quotes. And I think first you got to know yourself very deeply. What kind of man am I? What kind of life do I want to live? What kind of woman would be the right fit for my life? And only from a place of power like that can you be the chooser and not the chosen one.
Mhm.
You got to become a chooser.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys, they're just the lucky chosen one. They just let life come to them. They're a spectator
Mhm.
and they're not proactive. So,
Yeah,
so
it's the same with women. It feels like a lot of people just almost live their life as if this life is a rehearsal and they will have another one. But
mm,
the truth is, there is no another life. That the life that you live is now.
yeah,
So yeah, you gotta be the chooser.
yeah.
I agree with you.
I heard a quote the other day like, you can have two lives, either the life you live right now or the life you're capable of living.
Mhm.
And just don't settle for less than the life you're capable of living because we all have more potential, but
Mhm.
because we get stuck on our in our day-to-day habits, etc., and patterns, we just can't break out of them. And you have to kind of catch yourself and try to break the pattern and set some new things in place. And investing in yourself is the most important thing. Like you got to
Mhm.
invest in yourself, in mentors, books, resources, etc., because truth is, if you are where you are right now, it's because you've been taking actions that has led you to that. And if you want to change that, you gotta change those things. There's a really great book that I recommend everybody to read. It's called The Slight Edge by
Mhm.
Jeff Olson. It's one of the best books out there because it shows you how daily, simple, tiny little actions can have like crazy compounded ripple effects. It's really the compound effect of all these actions. And success is just a series of positive actions repeated daily over time. And failure is the same thing. It's a
Same.
series of just errors of judgments on a daily
Yeah.
basis that are repeated over time and that lead to failure. And so if you can catch yourself and you can put the right systems in place and habits on a day-to-day basis, you can have crazy compound effects. Yeah, it's also a numbers game. I mean, you got to meet a lot of people. Put yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, they complain about not having a dating life, but they don't actually go out. They don't actually meet people.
Yeah,
How many people have you met this week? How many people did you approach this week? If it's
I
less than 5,
I
then don't
agree.
complain.
I hear the same thing, oh, I want to date, oh, I want to have a relationship or whatever. I want to have sex in my life, but then what they do is just sit at home and do nothing about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Especially us. I mean, we live in Tallinn, Estonia. It's cold. It's dark out there,
Yeah,
etc.
nasty.
You don't necessarily want to talk to people outside necessarily, but then you can find ways. I mean, I go to the gym all the time, and at my gym, for example, I meet girls, or I force myself to go out in the weekends and meet people. You can always put systems and habits in place that would lead you to meeting people.
Absolutely.
Just about being conscious of it and doing it. So yeah, put in more volume, guys,
Yes,
girls too.
girls, everyone.
Yeah.
What makes a good date and what makes a bad date, in your opinion?
I think a good date is a date that leads to something tangible. I think it's a way. uh, I consider personally a bad date when there's no outcome. We just talked for nothing. And honestly, in my measure of a good date is just having fun and having a great time. Number one, because that's the first thing. Like if I don't have fun, if I don't have a great time, if I can't just speak freely about her or myself or the situation, then I wouldn't feel like it's a good date. But then tangible things, sex, kiss, making out, having fun, doing cool shit like that. Because if we go on a date and it's not sexual, it's not playful, it's not romantic, there's no tension or whatever, then it's a bad date. Then it's just too logical, too in our heads, too. I think that's what makes really a bad date is when a person is too caught up in their heads and they can't really fully express themselves. And yeah, we have different, like a different vibe together, and it just doesn't work out. And it's fine. You can walk away from dates. Not all your dates are gonna be great dates,
Great, yeah.
but yeah. On the opposite, like a good date is usually a date where we're aligned, we're flirting with each other, we're having fun, and then at the end of the night, come to my place, and then you know what happens. So, so for me,
Mhm.
that's a good date.
Cool. Thank you. What's the worst date you've ever had?
Um,
Is there
I've
one?
I've never had like horror stories, dates, or
Uh-huh.
whatever. I'd say once I went on a date with a girl that I met online, but it wasn't really. She didn't really look like she looked online. She looked a lot worse, and that wasn't really good. And also her vibe was weird and stuff like that. So I just walked away at some point. Like wished her a good life and walked away. I never had like crazy horror dates. I mean, most of my dates are pretty chill, pretty cool, to be honest. So yeah, next, next question. What about you? Did you have like a horror story type of date? A date that?
Oh my god. I would say the worst date I've ever been to is that I think I was in my like maybe late teens, early 20s. Probably late no, early 20s. I was at the university and then this guy reached out to me through Facebook and texted me and "Oh, I like you, let's go out." Like we talked a bit and I think I was less strategic back then about how I go on dates and so I also didn't know how to say no.
Hmm.
So I went and then he picks me up and not only that he's very stupid and we really have nothing to talk about, then he drives and turns on the crossroad and goes to the opposite lane, which is divided by this separator, so you cannot turn to the right
Mm,
one. And we almost smashed into another car.
shit.
That was fucking terrible.
Hmm.
I'll
And then
never
did
forget
you
it.
walk away or
I
what
asked
happened?
him to just stop there and I left.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, happens. Could have been worse,
Could have been,
but
yeah.
yeah,
Thank God it didn't.
yeah. Have you ever had a situation where you were with a guy and he didn't know when to stop with you? Like he tried too hard to have sex with you, and to the point where it was almost like rape, but not really rape. Like he was really crossing boundaries. Like he was trying too hard. Have you ever had that?
Oh yeah, guys cross boundaries all the time.
But to the point where really like you could literally almost go to the police and put him on a trial because he was too much. Like almost like rape.
Mm, I think I kind of again, because in the early 20s, I was the good girl and I didn't really know how to say no. There were situations where I was really uncomfortable. But now it's absolutely impossible. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't tolerate this bullshit at all. I really wanted to ask fast questions like you did with green flags and red flags.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
One question, yeah? So who would you choose? A very pretty girl, like fabulous, but super dumb? Or an average looking girl, but really smart and interesting?
Depends if it's for short term, one night, or long term. Obviously, long term, I would choose definitely the, let's say, 7 out of 10. I don't like to give numbers, but I mean, it's true. There's a scale of attractiveness. You know, I would choose a 7 out of 10 who's like super good personality, super smart, over 9 out of 10. Because there's no 10. I mean, nobody's perfect, but let's say 9, 9.5 out of 10. But that's super dumb. For sure, I would choose the 7. And I think even long term, actually, the 7s, 8s are actually sometimes better than the girl who's like too beautiful. You can have less problems sometimes. but yeah, I mean, short term, if it's just one night in a nightclub and I want to bring her home, I don't care if she's dumb. I mean,
she'll not have to speak. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, she can speak, but yeah, she needs a minimum of speaking. But it's fine if she doesn't.
Cool. So let's wrap it up. And how can potential clients, how can people find more about you, about your work? Where should they contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, you can contact me on Instagram, so at Limo Oueslati, or you can go to my website, higherselfcircle.com. And inside, you will see that you have a ton of free resources actually that you can access. And you can also book a call with my team, and we can just talk about your situation, your goals, and then show you the systems that you can put in place to get there. Whether you want to attract a ton of options or you want to date an amazing woman long term, then you can come to us and we can show you some powerful stuff that you can put in place. So, yeah.
Cool. Thank you. It was a really fun discussion.